Hi there, this is Pastor Pete from Cowboy Fellowship. You can find us on the web at cowboyfellowship.org or simplysermons.com. Glad to be with you today for another quick video blog. Wanted to share with you one quick truth out of God's Word. We've been talking about don't get stuck and how to avoid that. If you've ever been stuck, you know it's no fun. Let me encourage you. Don't get stuck in what makes sense. As Christians, a lot of times we like to get stuck in what makes sense. We like things to make sense in our lives. I'm a very practical person. I like things to make sense. I like to go from A to B and B to C and C to D, etc. I like 1 plus 1 to equal 2 and 2 plus 2 to equal 4, if you know what I mean. I like things to make sense in life. I like to be able to explain things. But one of the things I've learned about God is things don't always make sense. In fact, a lot of times things don't make sense. Jesus gives us a good example of that right at the beginning of His ministry. In the book of Mark, chapter 1, verses 32 through 39, we have a pretty cool story. I just kind of want to read verses 37 and 38. It says, "And when they found Him, they exclaimed, 'Everyone is looking for you.' Jesus replied, 'Let us go somewhere else to the nearby villages so I can preach there also. This is why I've come.'" Let me paint the picture very quickly. Jesus shows up in town. He starts healing people. He works until the sun goes down, the sun sets. He works into the night, the Bible tells us, and at some point in the evening he quits. He rises early in the morning to go out and spend time with His Father and pray, shows us the importance of devotion. He comes back into town and His disciples find Him and they say, "Where have you been? What's going on? Everyone is looking for you." There's still people to heal. There's still miracles that need to be done. Everyone is looking for you. And then Jesus replies, "Let's go somewhere else." The pastor in me says, why? The common sense in me says, why? I mean, I would think He should start a church here. The people love Him. The people are lined up. Miracles are happening. This is time for revival to break out. This is where we need to pop a tent and bring a band in. Jesus says, "No, let's go somewhere else. Let's go to the other nearby villages so I can preach there also. This is why I've come." That doesn't make any sense to me. I'm sure it didn't make sense to the man who was next in line with his child who was dying, or the man who was with his father who was blind, who was waiting for him to be healed, or the mother who was with the child who was sick from some illness. I'm sure it didn't make sense to those who were in line. We don't know who was next, but I'm sure it didn't make sense. I'm sure it didn't make sense to the disciples. But I've been around long enough to know when you follow God, things don't always make sense. Don't get stuck in what makes sense. Get stuck on God. And when God tells you to do something, you do it, whether it makes sense or not. If it lines up with God's Word, if it's moral, if it's ethical, if it's biblically provable, it's God's voice. And it doesn't always make sense. God called me, a poor country boy from Atascosa County, to be a preacher. Why, I have no idea. Doesn't make any sense. But it's how it worked out. If you're stuck in something right now that don't make sense, let me encourage you to trust God. Follow God. Let Him lead you to wherever it is He'd like you to go. May God bless you wherever you are in the world. We've got 25,000 subscribers on simplysermons.com, and I'm assuming you're one of them. If you're not, go there today, simplysermons.com. Subscribe. Let us know you care. Send us an email. Help keep us on the net. May God bless you. Till we see each other again.